Talk about a makeshift Ollas system. So the people of the First Nations obviously knew how to grow their own food and did it very well. So there's a lot we can learn about techniques. In fact, other cultures, including China, also used Ollas. Now, Ollas are clay pots that are used to be buried next to plants, so that you fill up the clay pot and the plants eventually, their roots attach to the side and draw the water out. The water does come out on its own a little bit too, but Ollas can be a bit expensive. So what I did was I took BPA-free bottles and barely buried them 2 inches into the soil. I fill it up and it drains. I only buried this one about 2 inches. I've tried them deeper before and they worked very well. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I noticed that the pumpkin, melon, and watermelon plants benefited well from it just being buried only 2 inches into the ground. It's working great. The ones that didn't have it right away are right here. They're much smaller. So I've given them a different type of temporary Ollas that I'll pull up at the end of the season. There goes a grasshopper. I was talking about those yesterday. And I fill this up every day and it brings the water below the crusting sandy-ish and slightly amended soil that's on top here. And it's already helping them to grow a little bit bigger, a little bit quicker. This is the very end of June here. So see the size difference? Really did help out a lot. This one is especially struggling, so that one is going to benefit from it too. I put a few potatoes in here too because these aren't where I save seeds. This is a lot of where my catch-all stuff is kind of going together. That way it's a catch crop. I'm already watering one crop anyway, so the other ones are getting the benefit of it too, and it's a companion planting thing to do. Normally potatoes aren't the normal thing I'd put back there, but because it's just me trying a few techniques for desert gardening, it didn't really matter. And the stuff that I got didn't have diseases in it anyway, so they're fine. Some of the pests that there might be a concern for aren't really here. But we are dealing with grasshoppers and we're dealing with flea beetles, and you can see a lot of that damage. I did a video yesterday about trying organic flour versus diatomaceous earth. This is where I put the diatomaceous earth, and it has put a stop to them eating the leaves, even though you just saw a grasshopper. It was mainly to stop the flea beetles. The diatomaceous earth works really well, but it does repel the grasshoppers. There's very little damage still happening since I've been doing this, but I do it every few days and I keep it going. The flour didn't work for the grasshoppers. Honestly, it seemed like it could be a coincidence, but it's like they attracted the grasshoppers, and I'm sorry about the planes, it's gonna happen every now and then. But the diatomaceous earth is working for pests for me back here in the desert. And that's just my drink that I have. I like to freeze watermelons to use the extra, and then I use them as ice cubes. That's not what I'm putting in the Ollas, but I'm about to fill them up with water. And there's a little grasshopper that's insisting on waiting until I do. But the Ollas are working really well. If you can try the ceramic ones, those tend to, as far as other people say, they work very well. I haven't installed any myself because I was seeing what cheaper versions work well. And like I said, I had once buried this farther in the ground, and the year that I did that, once the plants got established, I only had to water the tomato plants around 3 times for the whole summer. After about 3 or 4 fillings of the gallon containers, the sandy loamy soil kind of formed a brick, its own version of an Ollas around it, so it didn't drain quickly at all, and it almost looked like it stopped draining, but obviously it was still getting water from it because I only had to, in this very hot climate, these very dry desert. I only had to water it 3 times for that whole summer, and it bared fruit, and it bared it well. There was no cracking. It was even water. It's surprising how little water plants actually need if they get watered the right amount at the right depth, and it's being kept well. I mean, in a way, there's not a lot of moisture retention for sandy loamy soil, but that's mainly the surface. If you get some good deep watering, even on its own, it's surprising how long it does keep water down where the roots are. But it still needs a consistent source out here because the top roots still need a bit of mulching, and it needs, depending on what system you're using, all the water that plant requires. But this has saved a tremendous amount of work for me because there's no irrigation back here. So I'm going to continue to use this Ollas system and trying out different ones to see what works best. But so far, anything you can do to crack the hard surface of a sandy soil type to get it just a little bit below is going to help your plants out tremendously. Really well. It takes about 3 weeks for the roots to really get used to the fact that you've done some type of Ollas. So I'll update you as the summer goes along. Thanks for watching my video, and please subscribe.